afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya for the season finale weekend of the Formula V8 3.5 Championship. And what a weekend of racing we have got in store. 7 drivers still in contention for the 2016 crown. And the Motorland Aragon back in mid-April feels like a long, long time ago. But once more, we're in Spain. We're about 15 miles outside the centre of Barcelona. Always a very popular venue with the drivers. The home, of course, of the Spanish Grand Prix. It is a high-speed and technical challenge. Although, fortunately, this afternoon, one that isn't covered in precipitation, because although it's humid and windy, the forecast rain as yet has not arrived. But it was very damp for qualifying earlier on this morning. It was Alfonso Cayley who got caught out and brought out the red flag. His teammate, however, Tom Dillman, second in the championship standings, who put the car on pole position. The very, very closing stage of the session, just ahead of Mathieu Vaxivière and Jack Aitken. So here you have a look at the championship standings. Louis Delatraz leads the way, 3 points clear of Tom Dillman, but then Vaxivière, Panis, Nissany, Yurudchov and Binder could all claim the title this weekend if things swing in their favour. Only Louis Delatraz could take the title today, and he requires an awful lot to go in his way in order to do that. But his main rival, Tom Dillman, starts from pole. Let's hear from him now.
Tom Dillman, AVF, this is one chance ahead. It was the strategy today, and you're back into the pace.
Yeah, I mean, the team changed everything on the car because I've been struggling, and I believe the car had something broken. And after Herrera, the team changed everything, and from yesterday I felt really good in the car, like back in my AVF car that was really fast. And it shows today again. You know, yesterday we were really fast, today pole. It was really tricky to make the right choice and put the lap in the end. But in the end we managed well, and yeah. We start on pole, so we can take the lead back of the championship this afternoon.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Pole sitter Tom Dillman then, and he is just 3 points adrift of Louis Delatraz. As we were saying, Delatraz could claim the title this afternoon. He's the only driver who could, and that is if he finishes at the checkered flag more than 25 points clear, or indeed equal of 25 points with Tom Dillman. There is the AVF driver Dillman. Only one victory to his credit this season, and certainly unusually off the pace in both Monza and Jerez. Alongside him is Mathieu Vaxivière in the SMP racing car, and Vaxivière will be still kicking himself for that lost victory last weekend. Nonetheless, he is still in the championship hunt, just 25 points off the lead. Continuing his very impressive entry into the series with RP Motorsport is Jack Aitken, the reigning Formula Renault 2-litre Euro Cup champion. Aitken, who was very front of the field last weekend, let down a little bit by his starts. Louis Delatraz took the lead of the title in Jerez just 6 days ago, and the Swiss Fortec driver, who has been on form all year, hunting his 3rd victory of the campaign, having won already in Alcanis and Paul Ricard. Igor Yurudchov lines up in 5th. The Russian driver, 34 points off the championship lead, 6th in the standings, but after the bad luck that plagued him early on in the season, the last 3 races, he's won 2 of them, finished 2nd in the other. Matevos Asakian scored a fantastic maiden victory in the Formula V8 3.5 Championship last Saturday in Jerez, and he continues his rich vein of form with 6th on the grid. For Aurélien Panis, there have been times this year, if it weren't for bad luck, he'd have had none at all, and 2 retirements in the last 3 races has set back his championship fight, but he's still 4th in the standings, and he is only 29 points adrift. Another solid qualifying from Pietro Fittipaldi in the 2nd of the Fortec cars to line up 8th on the grid, the Brazilian driver in his rookie season. Still looking for that breakthrough race result. Maybe it will come this afternoon. Vitor Baptista has had a solid debut year, currently 12th in the standings, not been in the points since race 1 in Monza, but the RP Motorsport driver always there or thereabouts in terms of pace. Yuka Amaru and Teo Martin Motorsport had really their best weekend of the season last time out in Jerez. Another home event, an opportunity for the Japanese driver and his Spanish team to shine. 11th on the grid, just his second weekend of Formula V8 3.5 championship racing. The Australian driver, Tom Randall, and he and the Comtech team steadily moving up the standings with limited track time, a very impressive 11th, out-qualifying both of the Lotus cars. René Binder starts in 12th. Binder, the last of the drivers who could win the title, but he's the longest shot of all, 47 points off the lead, but mathematically it's still doable. And down in 14th place, his teammate Roy Nassani, who was quickest in free practice yesterday, but for the second event in a row, the qualifying sessions have not gone the way of the Lotus driver, and so from 14th on a track where overtaking can be tricky, he has an awful lot to do. So the magnificent sounding V8 engines fired up on the grid. They will just have the sighting lap around the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, and then will return for the standing start. 40 minutes of racing ahead. The expectation is the championship fight is going to go down to the wire tomorrow. The expectation is it is going to be between Dillman and Delatraz, but there is an awful lot more that can happen. We saw Delatraz and Dillman coming together in race 1 in Jerez. A repeat of that will certainly bring others into the championship mix. For Tom Dillman, though, he's only won once this year. That was in race 2 at the Hungaroring. This is his opportunity to get back into winning ways and reclaim the lead of the championship. It's the bright orange AVF car of the Frenchman Dillman, who leads away on the formation lap. It's his compatriot, the often fast-starting Mathieu Vaxivière, who shares the front row with him. Here is how they line up in full. Dillman and Vaxivière, the front row. Then Jack Aitken and Louis Delatraz, the two Renault development drivers, on row 2. Row 3, Igor Yuruchov and Matafos Isakian, then Aurélien Panis and Pietro Fittipaldi, looking out the 4th row. The top 10 completed by Vitor Bautista and Yu Kanemaru, and then it's Tom Randall 11th, just clear of René Binder. 7th row of the grid, Baetska and Roy Nassani, both of whom were disappointed by qualifying. Watch to see how Nassani can press on. Then Giuseppe Cipriani with Alfonso Calis completing the field, the Mexican driver, getting into trouble early on in qualifying and therefore unable to set an improved time as the track conditions improved. So this is the first race of the weekend, 40 minutes plus 1 lap, but no pit stops today. That comes tomorrow. Therefore, they are going to have to sort it out on track between themselves, but they do have the aid of the DRS system, which they can use for a limited time at their discretion through the course of the race, and that could be a key, particularly as we've got quite a stiff breeze along the start and finish straight today. A little bit of a headwind for the drivers, and therefore slipstreaming could open itself up. So into turn 10. This is one of the overtaking opportunities before they climb out of turn 11 through the long right-hander at turn 12. And then the 90-degree radius right-hander at 13 into chicane at turns 14 and 15, and then through the turn 16. Again, a quick right-hander which brings them back to the start and finish straight. It's where we've seen a lot of cars actually getting into trouble already during the course of the weekend, during the various free practice sessions for the categories racing here. So 7 drivers in contention for the championship. Who is going to come out on top? We almost certainly won't know the answer this afternoon, but we will have a pretty strong hint, and we may well have at least a couple of drivers eliminated from that title fight. Into pole position slots Tom Dillman. This is his chance to get on the podium for the first time since the Red Bull Ring in September. Mathieu Vaxivière lines up alongside him. Then it's Jack Aitken, who could be the spoiler in the deck, and Louis Delatraz, the championship leader for Richard Dutton's Fortec team, on row 2. SMP Racing, watch on. For the penultimate time this year, about to go racing, and we've got a car in trouble on the front of the grid, and so it's going to be an additional formation lap. It's one of Vaxivière and Delatraz. We've got more cars who've lost their engine, and it is Jack Aitken, in fact, who doesn't get underway. So we'll have the extra formation lap with Jack Aitken. Once more, the start of the race proving problematic for him. The Brit qualified on pole for the first race in Jerez, but made a wretched start. And now he doesn't even get as far as that. He'll be pushed into the pit lane and will start from there. So what it does do is take a driver who would have been very competitive for the podium out of contention, and it leaves things wide open. Now the top 4 places on the grid, when they do come back into position, up to and including Igor Yuruchov for Arden, will all be championship contenders. So the RP Motorsport team get to work in restarting Aitken's car. Frustration for Jack Aitken, but this is always the challenge when you come into a championship later in the year. You're learning the car and the racecraft pretty much simultaneously without the benefit of an awful lot of testing. So the extra formation, that means that we're going to lose 2 minutes from the race time, so it becomes a 38-minute +1 lap race. And it just ratchets up the tension further still, because you talk to any of the drivers, they know the championships come down to the wire this weekend. They also know that really the only way they can put that to bed is actually by getting out and going racing. We have had some great title deciders over the years in the championship here in Barcelona, probably most notably back in 2012 between Robin Frins and Jules Bianchi, which came to a head in somewhat controversial circumstance when Frins and Bianchi came together, and the delay that caused to Bianchi was enough to hand Robin Frins the title. Hopefully it will be sorted out cleanly. In any event, it's going to be exciting. Dillman spins up his rear tyres, gets some heat into the Michelin rubber. It's a gap. Third on the grid, where Jack Aitken should have been. What can Roy Nassani do? 14th on the grid, but the quickest driver in free practice. Let's try again then. Everybody rolls into position. Alfonso Calis to a halt. It's eyes to the gantry. The revs rise. The lights are on. They're out and we're racing. And it's not a brilliant start from Tom Dillman. It's a very good getaway from Igor Yuruchov and Roy Nassani, as Rene Binder is left in the dust. A little bit of jostling as Yuruchov is going to fight for the lead into turn 1. Igor Yuruchov for Arden takes the lead of the race. Up into second place it is Dillman, third Vaxiviev, fourth Louis Delatraz. And Roy Nassani's already up into about 7th as Visser and Kanemaru go side by side. The same for Alfonso Calis and Tom Randall, as already Dillman trying to pressurise Yuruchov, regain the lead of the race. And now turn 4, downhill into turn 5. The leading trio all running as a fairly tight bunch. This is the lowest point on the circuit, and then start to climb up once more. We've got somebody in trouble further back down the field. Pick up who that is in a moment. Oh, and it's Alfonso Calis who's gone off and into the tyre wall. And Calis has made a good start to the race, but his disappointing day continues. The leading quartet all running as one. Roy Nassani up into 9th position. It's been a good run through turns 10 and 11 for race leader Yuruchov. Tom Randall in the blue and white Comtech car does battle with Rene Binder, who wasn't so hot off the line. Now, what can Mathieu Vaxiviev do in the tow behind Tom Dillman down the start and finish straight? Here is the replay of Alfonso Calis' adventures. He goes bump into the tyre wall. The field all in the train. Slight puff of the brakes from Yuruchov as he slows the car. It's quite steeply downhill into turn 1 here. Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, for the cars climb uphill through the very, very long radius turn 3. On to turn 4. And Matavos Isakian, who you see there just behind Aurélien Panis, the quickest driver in the field through that first sector. Now, Louis Delatraz in this early running, not really able to stay with Mathieu Vaxivière in third, but car setup, managing the tyres over the course of the race is going to be key. As long as Delatraz can stay in touch, and he might look to push on a little bit later in the race. We've seen that a couple of times this year from Swiss driver. He drives with great level of maturity in the early stages. Meanwhile, Roy Nissany looks to challenge Pietro Fittipaldi and goes around the outside of him. Can he keep the car on the road? No, he can't. So Nissany loses the ground that he gained, shuffles back on. But you get a sense of the urgency from the Israeli driver. He needs to get as quickly as he can up to this leading group of cars, which files through the chicane towards the end of the second lap of the race. Yurchov blasts down the start and finish straight. Thinks about just moving around to try and break the toe to Tom Dillman. Dillman not playing games, not at this stage. Meanwhile, Nissany under threat from Yu Kanemaru, so that loss of momentum for Roy Nissany causing some problems for him. Kanemaru can't propel back past, so it is as we were. What can Dillman do? Now we get into the rhythm of the race. About Igor Yurchov. Yurchov always an outside bet for the championship fight this weekend, but the Russian driver, he has certainly got the opportunity, as things stand, to race himself into contention and keep the title fight live into tomorrow. And that really surely got to be the main aim for the Russian driver, because if things were to finish as they are, he would be 21 points adrift for the title, and therefore right in the mix of it going into the season finale. René Binder on the cusp, however, of being eliminated from the championship battle. The same for Aurélien Panis in 5th place. Now, the move that's looking most likely, possibly Panis on Isakian as they came over the start and finish line. Vitor Baptista very close, and a change. Meanwhile, Louis Delatraz up ahead of Mathieu Vaxivière. So Delatraz gains the place on Vaxivière. Now that is an important move in terms of the championship battle. It gives Louis Delatraz an additional 3 points, which would leave him tied with Tom Dillman if it were to stay like this at the checkered flag. So the plot thickens into the pit lane for René Binder. Well, he was slightly muted in the early stages, and that, unfortunately, is the end of René Binder's title charge. So it's Yurchov from Dillman, Delatraz, Vaxivière, Aurélien Panis in 5th, Matavos Isakian in 6th, 7th Vitor Baptista, 8th Pietro Fittipaldi, 9th Roy Nissany, still unable to find a way past the Brazilian. Not even at 1/4 race distance yet. A long, long way to go. But Louis Delatraz easing away from Mathieu Vaxivière. But can he make any inroads into Tom Dillman? The next couple of laps will tell us the story. Aurélien Panis already begins to get on terms with his compatriot as well, as is Roy Nissany, who's once more bottled up behind Pietro Fittipaldi. And Kanemaru from Visser, 10th and 11th. So here comes Roy Nissany. Wouldn't be surprised if he takes advantage of a little bit of DRS here. Try and pressurise Fittipaldi, but Pietro Fittipaldi, the European Formula 3 graduate, doesn't get flustered. Now, Louis Delatraz, first lap in a bit of clear air. He sets the fastest lap of the race. He was 4/10 quicker than Yurchov and Dillman. So Louis Delatraz, there he is in the black and red Fortec car, 3rd place, but the quickest car in the race. He's got his main title rival, Tom Dillman, up the road ahead of him. Confirmation of that fastest lap for Louis Delatraz. On the road, he and Dillman are tied on points in the championship standings, and the only other driver who would be able to take the crown tomorrow is the man in front of them, Igor Yuruchov, the race leader. That's as things stand. So, into turn 10, and Louis Delatraz continues to eat away at Tom Dillman's advantage. It's down to just 0.4 of a second. And we saw this in Jerez, that Delatraz was able to harry and hassle Tom Dillman. But when he then tried to get through, it all ended in tears. And both drivers feeling very strongly it was the fault of the other. In fact, Sevier in fourth, already slipping into the clutches of Aurélien Panis. As Panis tries to get into the tow behind Vaxivière, down the start and finish straight. And although Panis just shows himself in Vaxivier's mirrors, forces Vaxivière to have a little bit of a look, he's not close enough. Despite the use of DRS. Meanwhile, Delatraz, again, 0.3 quicker than Tom Dillman last time around. Igor Yuruchov, though, elevating his pace accordingly in the Arden car, the race leader, fractionally quicker than Louis Delatraz. Sakian trying to close up to Aurélien Panis. Meanwhile, Jack Aitken recovering through the field. Up ahead of Giuseppe Cipriani. So that moves Aitken into 13th place. His next target is Tom Randall, who's had an adventure somewhere and slipped down into 12th. Delatraz really getting onto terms with Tom Dillman already. Same for Aurélien Panis behind Mathieu Vaxivière. One of the great things about these Formula V8 3.5 cars, really in every generation of the car, is that they, despite their power, you've always been able to follow a little bit more closely to your rivals than perhaps you see in some other slicks and wings formulas. This has been a good lap from Igor Yuruchov. His lead has grown out to about 1.7 seconds over Tom Dillman. In fact, it goes out to 2 seconds as Dillman has his mirrors ever fuller of Louis Delatraz. Swiss driver forces Dillman to defend. Meanwhile, at the back of the picture, Vaxivière was under real pressure from Aurélien Panis. We'll pick up that battle in a moment. Here they are, and it is Vaxivière still just ahead of Panis. And that was a good opportunity for Aurélien Panis, but he couldn't overhaul Mathieu Vaxivière. But it means that Panis is now being boxed back to Matevos Isaki, and in 7th place, going very strongly, is Vitor Baptista in the first of the RP Motorsport cars. There you can see Baptista. Then you've got Fittipaldi with Nassani. So the early stages once more here in Barcelona, proving thoroughly entertaining. And it's the point of the season where the drivers just have to dig really deep to make those moves stick now. This is where they have to find something a little bit special. It's a slight snatch of the break from the race leader Igor Yuruchov. The fight for 4th. Sevier from Panis. And then Matevos Isaki. You don't know where to look, do you? You've got this battle for 2nd. A 4-car train now for 4th place. And we're only on the 7th lap of the race. Through the chicane. And Aurélien Panis may well be lined up to have another crack here at Igor Yuruchov as they head, or rather another crack at Mathieu Vaxivière as they come along the start and finish straight. The blue nose cone car, the fluorescent helmet of Vaxivière covers the inside line. Panis went to the inside, feints to the outside, he gets his nose in front. Vaxivière tries to fight him, but around the outside sweeps Aurélien Panis. He gains the place and goes into 4th place. So great move for Aurélien Panis. Bad news for Mathieu Vaxivière, however, because he slips right out of championship contention. He might drop further still. He's got his teammate Isakian closing up behind him, and then Vitor Baptista as well. Aurélien Panis is now released, see if he can do anything about Tom Dillman and Louis Delatraz. this has been the case on a couple of occasions this year, is that Vaxivier's fantastic qualifying pace just doesn't seem to have been able to translate into consistent race pace. Right, the fight for second, the battle between the two principal championship protagonists. Task number one is don't tangle with each other. Task number two is try and finish ahead of your rival. And Louis Delatraz, having only taken a couple of laps to cruise to the tail of Tom Dillman's car, now finding the going a little bit tougher. And at what point does he start to look at deploying the DRS to bring the fight together? Delatraz again quicker than Dillman last time around. And Louis Delatraz is able to get into the low 1 minute 34 second bracket almost at will as Isakian moves up ahead of Mathieu Vaxivière, whereas Tom Dillman is really struggling to get beneath 1 minute 34.8. So for Louis Delatraz, not only is it a case of can he clear Tom Dillman, it's also if he can get past Dillman before too long. He's got over half the race remaining to try and reel in Igor Yuruchov. The Russian driver Yuruchov has been the driver with the most victories this season. This would be his 5th of the campaign. And you see how the gap between Dillman and Delatraz has just chipped away, but now that he's about half a second back, Louis Delatraz, he's getting into that turbulent air behind Tom Dillman. Swinging out of turn 12 into 13. And it's out of 14 and 15 this chicane. This is where Dillman needs to be almost glued to the rear wing of Tom Dillman's car, but it means that Tom Dillman also knows it's where he has to take the gambles, has to risk it. And now Louis Delatraz deploys the DRS, looks to close up onto Dillman's tail. Come over the crest of the road, down towards turn 1. Again, Dillman covers the inside line. He knows Delatraz is coming, and Louis Delatraz thinks about selling the dummy. A gap that looked open, then closing, was the source of much of the controversy last weekend as Vitor Baptista and Mathieu Vaxivière do battle over 6th and 7th place. Pietro Fittipaldi not too far back from that group. Now Roy Nassani has had a very poor lap. He's now been passed by Yu Kanemaru. So Nassani, who at one point this season looks as if he was going to be the driver possibly romping to the top of that purple patch that started in Paul Ricard through Silverstone and the Red Bull Ring. Now he is on the cusp of being mathematically eliminated from the championship fight. Meanwhile, Vitor Baptista runs out very wide, in fact, as Louis Delatraz closes again onto turns with Tom Dillman. Dillman a little bit offline through turn 12, and Delatraz just turning up the heat. Tom Dillman has been racing at this level for a long time. He knows how to absorb the pressure, but this is as close as Louis Delatraz has been through the final turn, and this is the best opportunity of the race so far for the Swiss driver. Both of them use their DRS to good effect, but there's still a fairly stiff breeze that's going to give Delatraz the chance to get in the slipstream behind Tom Dillman. Dillman ghosts to the inside of the road. Delatraz not quite close enough, and that's well defended from Tom Dillman. There was nothing really that Louis Delatraz could do. Dillman knew what he had to pull off, and that's exactly what he did. But Delatraz now following right up the tail of Dillman, almost at will. Can he force the mistake from the AVF driver? Delatraz was to gain this position. It would extend his championship lead to 6 points. And it would also turn it into a showdown between himself and Tom Dillman tomorrow. This would be enough to make the task to overhaul for Igor Yuruchov just a little bit too much. Downhill out of turn 9 towards turn 10. 4th place, Rami Ampani's trying to close up to them. Great racing this. as they head around turn 12. The fluorescent orange AVF car being pursued by the black and red Fortec machine. Flip-flop through the chicane. On to start and finish straight once more. Dillman, he's not close enough, or Delatraz not close enough to challenge Dillman on this occasion. Does Louis Delatraz take a bite of DRS? No, he knows that it would be a little bit too much to ask for. Tom Dillman just absorbs and soaks up the pressure. 4th place then for Panis. 5th Isakian. The fight for 6th and the giant queue behind Mathieu Vaxivière is probably where the other particularly close battle is, and it appeared as if there was a move that was in the making. We'll find out in a couple of moments. It's the fight for 2nd. The gap between them opens out a little bit once more. It's the opportunity for Louis Delatraz just to cool the Michelin tires a little bit, get out of the turbulent air, stop risking the graining. Team Fortec pass on instructions. Out of turn 9, over the curb on the exit, down towards turn 10. The gap ebbing and flowing, but it's been well under a second for the past 5 or 6 laps now. Into the chicane at turns 14 and 15. All eyes on the fight for 2nd. It is the battle for the championship. What about the Vaxivière tussle? Well, he's been demoted by Vitor Baptista. There's Baptista. So Vaxivière slips to 7th. Pietro Fittipaldi, the next driver to take his turn at the Frenchman. Then it's Hugh Kanemaru and Roy Nassani. Vaxivière again deploys the DRS, as do Fittipaldi and Kanemaru. And Pietro Fittipaldi surely close enough to challenge. Hugh Kanemaru might fancy his chances here as well to swoop both of them. But Vaxivière covers the inside line. Fittipaldi gets right underneath his gearbox. Into turn 3 on the ragged edge of adhesion. Mathieu Vaxivière fighting for 7th place. The other driver who could be the big winner here is Roy Nassani, currently in 10th. There's 3 places on offer for him. First of those is Hugh Kanemaru. Kanemaru, as a result, defends into turn 5. As soon as Kanemaru starts to defend, it opens up a little bit of daylight to Pietro Fittipaldi. It offers the opportunity to Fittipaldi now to be really free to challenge Mathieu Vaxivière. Vaxivière looking to close up to this tussle as well. Downhill to turn 10. Opportunity to challenge on the brakes, maybe. Say maybe, but not really is the answer. They run as they are. You've got to wonder how the race would have turned out for Roy Nassani had he been able to clear Pietro Fittipaldi in the early stages of the race. Instead, he lost out to Hugh Kanemaru a few moments later, and now he's caught in this real scrap for the lower places inside the top 10. The rest of the classification pretty much unchanged. And nobody close enough to launch a move into turn 1 this time around. Nassani trying to force Kanemaru offline, the Japanese driver not falling for Nassani's fate. So they head out of turn 3, turn 4 next up. Again, nobody close enough, but nobody doing a Hamilton-Rosberg either. So the battle, despite all the pressure being heaped on Mathieu Vaxivière, is as it was on the previous lap. At the front of the field, it's still half a second between Dillman and Delatraz in the battle for 2nd position. And Igor Yuruchov, the race leader, now well clear, almost 5 seconds up on the rest of the field. Jack Aitken, meanwhile, has just paid a trip into the pits. tackle of cars, almost a quintet as Visser looks to join onto the tail behind Nissani. The fight for second, much as we were, although interestingly there, DRS being used, that's the fluorescent strip you could see on the rear wing of Dillman's car in order to keep Louis Delatraz behind him. Now that is fascinating because it shows that Dillman is feeling the need to make some preemptive defensive use of the DRS at a time when Louis Delatraz didn't have it on in the attacking mode. So for Louis Delatraz, he knows there's going to be a couple more opportunities between now and the flag to pressurise Tom Dillman to try and force the move on the AVF driver. Kanemaru looks to the inside of Mathieu Vaxivière, who's been passed now by Pietro Fittipaldi. So it was another place loss for Vaxivière. He slips into 8th. It's possibly going to get a little bit worse than that as Kanemaru looks and challenges, goes up into 8th place. Vaxivière down to 9th. I expect that's fairly shortly going to become 10th because Roy Nissani is poised and ready to challenge as well. Here's another look at it. Vaxivière doing all he could to cover the inside line. Pietro Fittipaldi saying thank you very much. The outside will do just as nicely. And then Kanemaru to the inside. And Nissani's initial bid to pass the Frenchman thwarted. Dillman and Delatraz still as they were. That last lap, by the way, 1.2 seconds for Louis Delatraz slower than his fastest lap of the race. So as the tyres beginning to wear, the pace of the race starting to drop. And that's a sad sight to see. Mathieu Vaxivière into the pit lane. The driver who came into the race this afternoon, 3rd in the championship, pits in, and that ends his title hopes. Elevates Roy Nissani into 9th, but that's not going to be enough to keep Nissani's championship battle alive either. Aurélien Panis also will be out of title contention. He stays where he is, but it all comes down to what can Dillman and Delatraz do. Louis Delatraz again closes at will in the toe behind Tom Dillman towards turn 10. Maybe got a little bit too close to the Frenchman, in fact, under braking on that occasion, but neither driver essentially putting a wheel wrong all race. Dillman absorbing the pressure, Louis Delatraz delivering it. Delatraz understeering a little bit wide as well, actually, as they came out of 13. It cost them a 10th or so for the chicane at 14 and 15. I think the frustration here for Louis Delatraz is that the sections of the track where he is appreciably quicker than Tom Dillman are actually those where he's struggling to be able to craft an overtaking opportunity, but there's not been many occasions where he's been right underneath the gearbox of the AVF car of Tom Dillman as they've come onto the start and finish straight. So that last lap for Louis Delatraz, a 1:36.0, and so he's now almost 8 tenths back from Tom Dillman. The question's going to be how quickly, if at all, can Louis Delatraz come back at him? Igor Rudshov has checked out and gone, enjoying the chance to really run this race at his own pace. And with Igor Rudshov, so often in this category, his victories have been of the spectacular nature. He's really hit the most magnificent end-of-season streak of form. Just all those moments at the start of the year that he had. But for even one of those retirements, he would have been much higher up the standings, because if it stays as it is, he will have had 5 victories this year, but also 5 retirements. And in the series where there are no drop scores, that really hurts you. Dillman not quite fighting the car. You get a feeling for both Dillman and Delatraz that their Michelin tyres have seen better days, but that's been a much better lap for Louis Delatraz, and he's been able to get noticeably closer to Tom Dillman over the course of the lap. Again, both drivers deploying DRS down the start and finish straight. Dillman gains 3 tenths Delatraz gains 0.3 seconds over Tom Dillman. Dillman defends. Delatraz attacks. Round turn 3. Now that's interesting. Louis Delatraz able to stay right in the turbulent air behind Tom Dillman. Almost close enough to think about launching the challenge into turn 4, where again he closes. Really stiff breeze starting to blow across the track as well. The wind has picked up considerably during the course of the race. They climb uphill out of turn 7 and 8, turn 9 next. And if Dillman gets a poor run out of turn 9, it gives the opportunity for Delatraz to challenge down towards turn 10. Thought was certainly there for Louis Delatraz as Dillman moves across, covers the racing line. Turns 11 and 12 you can't overtake unless the car in front gets into all manner of bother, and that doesn't happen for Tom Dillman. So it's down out of turn 13, through the flip-flop at 14 and 15, and Louis Delatraz nose to tail with Tom Dillman now as they head out of the final turn, and this is surely the best opportunity that Louis Delatraz has had of the race. Both of them get on to DRS as early as possible. 7 more laps for Dillman to defend as he moves right across the inside of the road. Delatraz to the outside, goes wheel to wheel with Tom Dillman. This is the move for second place. Dillman defends and he runs out of road. Louis Delatraz should swoop through and take the place as Dillman rejoins, and Delatraz makes it past up into second place and consolidates his lead in the championship, doubles his lead in the championship out to 6 points. Now, can he pull clear of Dillman? All the evidence today would suggest yes. There you see Dillman doing everything he could, but he just couldn't quite hold Delatraz at bay. And Louis Delatraz, sealing the deal, pushing past, and the pace had dropped off so much between a pair of them on that last lap into the mid 1 minute 36 second bracket. And now that Louis Delatraz is released, he may have time to start to cause Igor Yuruchov a little bit of concern. Disappointment for the AVF team. Dillman very confident after free practice yesterday and again after qualifying this morning. As Louis Delatraz has been able to deliver during the race, as the car has just gone away a little bit from Tom Dillman. And that move also, as we alluded to earlier on, very important, as it will eliminate Igor Yuruchov from championship contention. Would leave the Russian driver, there he is, the race leader, 27 points adrift of Louis Delatraz. Yuruchov's lead over Delatraz, 6.6 seconds. Feels extremely unlikely that Yuruchov in the Arden car is going to be chased down in the remaining 7.5 minutes plus a lap. Stranger things have happened though. Again, Igor Yuruchov demonstrating his ability to dominate at the front of the field. It's not a bad day this for Arden. They've had periods this year where one car has always excelled, the other's gone into a little bit of trouble, through no fault of the teams. It's just, that's the way the luck has fallen. But this afternoon they've got Yuruchov leading, they've got Oranian Panisi in 4th. Now, can Oranian Panis do anything about Tom Dillman? That is also worth keeping an eye on, because Panis is only a couple of seconds back from Dillman. As Yuruchov navigates the ACC chicane and then heads along the start and finish straight. This is to complete lap 20. Yuruchov 1 minute 35.3. Plays 1 minute 35.6 for Delatraz. So Yuruchov continues to extend his lead. Oranian Panis, though, is eating away at Tom Dillman in 3rd place. There's the gap between the two Frenchmen. Now, what can Oranian do again, he had his periods in the season where he was looking the most likely to fight for the crown, particularly the first couple of events of the year, and then again with victory at the Red Bull Ring. But he's not been on the podium since that win at the Red Bull Ring. And this afternoon is looking like it might be a repeat of that. Yurachov just putting the hammer down at the front of the field, making sure that Louis Delatraz gets no ideas about chasing him down. Panis can see the target of Tom Dillman ahead of him. In many respects, for Aurélien Panis, he could have done with Dillman defending from Delatraz for another couple of laps. And you see how the gap between the pair of them has chipped away down to 1.9 seconds. And Aurélien Panis 3/10 quicker than Tom Dillman through the middle sector on the lap. Still Dillman, minimal corrections of the steering wheel through the chicane, and then on to completion of lap 21. Gap between Dillman and Panis down to 1.6, 1.7 seconds. There you see it. From Delatraz to Dillman, pretty static at about 1.5 seconds. Louis Delatraz not able to open up the gap an awful lot more than that. At the same time, just don't really think that Dillman's going to be able to come back at him. But Tom Dillman always very good through this first sector on the lap. It's through the middle sectors where he loses out to both Louis Delatraz and Aurélien Panis. And Panis breaks deep into turn 5. He's really pushing here, the Frenchman. Climbs out of turn 7 and 8 on towards turn 9. Quick right-hander, maximum lateral G-forces on the driver, and then down towards turn 10. End of sector 2, and yet there you see it, 1.5 seconds. So it's a net gain though of just a 1/10 of a second for Aurélien Panis over the course of the lap, and with 3.25 minutes left on the clock, that is not going to be enough for Aurélien Panis. So championship leader Louis Delatraz, 6 points, his on-the-road advantage on Tom Dillman. It's a buffer, but it's not a very comfortable one, because tomorrow, if Tom Dillman were to win the race and Louis Delatraz were to finish second, that would still be enough to give Tom Dillman the championship. So almost the best hope here for Louis Delatraz is that Aurélien Panis can make life uncomfortable for Dillman in the latter stages. Meanwhile, Matevos Sisakian and Vitor Baptista both deploying the DRS in their fight over 5th and 6th place. In particular for Vitor Baptista, this would match his second best result of the season. It'll be the first time he's really finished well up the order since Spa, where the 6th place and the 4th place were his best weekends of the year. Admittedly, that 4th place coming in an extremely attritional second race. Vitor Baptista in pursuit of Matevos Sisakian. 7th place is Pietro Fittipaldi, 8th Yukan Amaru, 9th Roy Nassani, 10th Vaitska Visser, 11th is Jack Aitken, 12th Giuseppe Cipriani. With the loss, of course, of Mathieu Vaxivière, Tom Randall, and René Binder into the pits, and Alfonso Calis into the tyre wall in the early stages of the race. And Aurélien Panis definitely getting closer here to Tom Dillman. It's going to be time for 2 more laps at the end of this one. So that could just be enough here for Aurélien Panis to make life uncomfortable for his compatriot. It's not going to be on this occasion, as Dillman accelerates out of the final turn, gets on the DRS, tries to break clear of Panis as they head down the start and finish straight. Hard to see if Aurélien Panis running DRS. No, he's not, because the fluorescent orange strip that would denote that he had got it deployed would be coming up. So Dillman's defensive use of the DRS buys him a fraction of time, but last time around, Panis was 6/10 quicker than Tom Dillman. They're in the penultimate lap of the race. The clock will have ticked to 0 by the next time they come around the start and finish line. As Giuseppe Cipriani, 12th position. Lap down, I think, to the progress of Igor Yuruchov, and this has been once more an emphatic performance from the Russian. A lightning start. He anticipated the lights going out so well and was able to carve through the field, force the move into turn 1, and thereafter has actually been relatively unchallenged. All of which makes the race sound a lot easier than it was, because he's been able to run at a consistently good pace and pull that pace out of his back pocket when he's really needed it. So he starts the final lap now. Second place, after a fashion, is going to be Louis Delatraz. There is Delatraz. Third is Tom Dillman, and Dillman still has got just enough over Aurélien Panis. One would suggest 1.1 seconds. I think he'll be okay. Tom Dillman, Louis Delatraz in second. And on for the championship as Vitor Baptista has a bumpy ride back on to the track. That takes away his hopes of 5th. Yuruchov down through turn 5. 9.6 seconds his lead over Louis Delatraz. And what is ominous for the rest of the field is that Igor Yuruchov, in his last stage of the race, is able to run 1.5 seconds lap quicker than Louis Delatraz, back into the 1 minute 34 second bracket for Igor Yuruchov, and he is out on his own and well clear of the rest of the field as he swings through turn 10, then out of turn 11 into the right-hander at turn 12. Short sprint towards turn 13, and this has been a very impressive drive from Igor Yuruchov as he navigates the final chicane, heads through the final turn. It's going to be a 5th victory of his Formula V8 3.5 championship campaign, and Igor Yuruchov takes the win in Barcelona. The Arden team celebrate with Louis Delatraz across the line in second place. He doubles his championship lead with Tom Dillman taking 3rd ahead of Aurélien Panis. Makes it 2 cars in the top 4 for Arden. Matavos Sakian across the line in 5th, ahead of Vitor Baptista in 6th, and then Pietro Fittipaldi in 7th, just up on Yu Kanemaru. Roinasani takes 9th, and Bates-Gavissa rounds out the top 10. So celebration time for Igor Yuruchov. Another very impressive performance from the Arden driver. Unfortunately, it hasn't been quite enough to keep his title chances alive into the final race of the season. But nonetheless, he has leapt up to 3rd in the championship standings. So Yuruchov celebrates, waves to the marshals and the crowd. Let's have a look then at the classification. So victory for Yuruchov and Delatraz, the Swiss, also setting fastest lap. Tom Dillman in 3rd from pole, then Aurélien Panis, Matavos Sakian, Vitor Baptista, Pietro Fittipaldi, Yu Kanemaru, Roinasani and Bates-Gavissa rounds out the top 10. 11th place for Jack Aitken after he stalled on the grid. Giuseppe Cipriani in 12th, and then unfortunately we lost Vaxivière, Randall, Binder and Kalis along the way. In terms of the championship standings then, well, there you see the confirmation. 6 points the advantage for Delatraz over Dillman, but it's too much ground for Yuruchov to close, even though he jumps up to 3rd ahead of Panis, Vaxivière, Nissani and Binder. It is going to be a battle royale tomorrow here in Barcelona. Don't forget that we will be going racing for the season finale at 3:45 Central European time, and of course our live coverage will start a little bit before then. So to a halt in Parc Fermé for Igor Yurudshov. Applause of the Arden team as their driver celebrates in Parc Fermé. That was an absolutely beautifully judged race, and when we look back at the highlights, it was that jump off the line, lightning start for Yurudshov that propelled him to the front of the field. The same for Louis Delatraz. He receives the congratulations of the well-wishers. Didn't quite take the win, but he did pretty much everything he could do. Element of disappointment for Tom Dillman, but he's only 6 points back. He could well take the title tomorrow. Another pole position, another solid drive, gives him every opportunity. Yurudshov weighs in. Receives the congratulations and handshake from Louis Delatraz. We will hear from our race winner in a moment's time. It was a great scrap between Delatraz and Dillman. It's what you always want to see, is when the two championship rivals are going wheel to wheel on the track. Today, though, Delatraz just able to get the better of Dillman, but there wasn't an awful lot in it between them. So let's hear from our race winner, Igor Yurudshov.
No está. So Igor Yurudshov, fantastic job today with Arden Motorsport, securing almost the title for your team and importantly, your win here in the circuit.
Yeah, it was a really good race, well-executed start. We worked on it again very hard, and again it paid off, won us a race. I had the only battle I had with Tom up towards turn one, and I knew he wouldn't risk it. He has a championship on the card, and I'm not really. And after that, I was just controlling my pace, finding my own rhythm, the comfortable one. So I look after the tires. I think I did it quite well, but for sure we can work a bit more for tomorrow in case it's dry. But overall, big thanks to the team. They've done a great job. And for sure, it's that starts is all thanks to the team. And yeah, big thanks to S&P Racing. They've been great supporting me this year.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's take a look back then at the best of the race, and this is the start that Yurudshov was talking about. Dillman went away well, but Yurudshov, a lightning getaway, and he was able to force the issue into the first corner, with Dillman holding off Vaxivière for second, and Delatraz making sure he turned in fourth. Behind, there was plenty of side-by-side action. Roy Nassani pushing very hard in the early stages to make up from 14th on the grid, but he couldn't move ahead of Pietro Fittipaldi, and that in the end cost him as he was mired somewhat in the midfield. Meanwhile, Vaxivière had a car that was going away from him, and having lost out to Delatraz, it wasn't too long before Aurélien Panis was also able to push his way past. Then it was all eyes on this battle for second between the title rivals Tom Dillman and Louis Delatraz. Vaxivière was further demoted after a brave move from Pietro Fittipaldi. And then Kanemaru a few moments later, and shortly after that, Vaxivière was forced into the pits and into retirement. Vaxivière out of the running, Dillman defending as hard as he could from Delatraz, but that snatch break covering the inside line to turn one was the opening the Swiss needed to move up into second. At the front of the field, though, Igor Yurudshov taking a dominant victory, his fifth of the campaign, with second place to Louis Delatraz, giving him a 6-point championship lead going into the season finale. But Tom Dillman could easily take the title as well. It's going to be a shootout between the pair of them. So smiles from the Arden team and Gary Horner on the pit wall, waiting for their driver, Igor Yurudshov, to be announced up onto the rostrum. So the applause from the well-wishers at the foot of the podium as Tom Dillman heads on to the third step of the rostrum. Runner-up Louis Delatraz. and race winner Igor Yurchov celebrates on the top step of the podium once more for Arden. It's the third win in 4 races for the Russian driver and the British team. Russian national anthem for Igor Yurchov, victorious in the penultimate Formula V8 3.5 race of the season. So we move on to the presentation of the trophies. Third place for Tom Dillman. Runner-up Louis Delatraz. And the key for both Dillman and Delatraz is to put today behind them, because they will both need to be at the very top of their game for tomorrow. Yurchov celebrates on the top step of the podium. He thoroughly enjoyed that, so did his team. Louis Delatraz also the top rookie. And he's been really the dominant rookie driver this season. And Arden to receive the team's trophy. So Arden, the winning team. We will have the championship finale here in Barcelona tomorrow, 3:45 Central European time. Make a date for it, because it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Louis Delatraz goes into tomorrow's race 6 points clear of Tom Dillman, but there is going to be everything to race for. Drivers about to pose for the photos on the rostrum before making merry with the champagne, which means it's just about time for myself, Ben Evans, to say thank you very much for joining us at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya this afternoon. Make sure that you are back with us 3:45 Central European time tomorrow for the championship finale of the Formula V8 3.5 Championship. We will see you there.